Hello everyone, my name is Rory and today I'm making a few traces, and I want to make this video just for a few different reasons actually. So I've only started competition fishing this year, and there's a trace that I've seen used before and I've never used them myself because I'd never a reason to. I've only ever been pleasure fishing, and with pleasure fishing, when I was pleasure fishing I was only using big enough hooks, 2 O's and 1 hook, 2 hook traces, never clip downs. That was all too technical for me. Um, but I've been shown a few tricks this year, and I've been watching a lot of videos myself. And lads are using, I think the staple for competitions in Ireland, well, I think anywhere across Europe really, is the 3 hook clip down rig. So between watching lads doing them, um, getting a few templates of traces myself and copying them, and then watching videos of lads doing them, I think I've got the nick of it anyway. I think anyway. This is the way I do them. So really, the reason I want to make this video is to show lads that don't know how to do them how I do them. And the way I do them is probably completely wrong. So the second reason for the video then would be any criticism, or if anybody has any tips or tricks to make it a little bit more, I suppose, better, or more efficient would be the word I'd be looking for. Or if I'm doing that wrong, I'm completely open to criticism because I'm still learning and I love learning. And whereas before I wasn't, not that I wasn't open to learning, I just had no reason to. Because I was setting my ways. But now I'm learning new things, and it's working. It's working really well. My catches are, increasing. For competition wise, I'm doing really good in them compared to when I first started done my first one. And yeah, pleasure fishing, it's been through the roof now since I've been learning stuff for the competitions. So yeah, I've just done one up here, right? This is the 3 hook clip down. So start with a big swivel, crimp, small bead, small swivel, another bead, SRT spring, crimp. I might go out of focus, but then I'm doing, small hooks are the thing. So size 6 here, we got a little rubber bait stop, a little lumi bead, crimp, bead, cascade, swivel, bead, crimp. And the line I'm using now, it's 60 pound shock leader, and what is it, 12 pound amnesia as far as I know. Let me just find out. That's it, 12 pound amnesia for the snoodles. And it's the same all the way down then really. So cascade, swivel, and on the bottom then I'm using imps, which are great little yokes. But so for the middle hook then I'd be using a size 8, top hook size 6, and bottom hook then size 1. So you're kind of targeting all different ranges of species, but yeah, a handy old rig. So what I'm going to do is, sorry, it's just unclipped here. So what I'm going to do is run through how I make it, and then that's it. So any lads that sort of would like to make them can use this video for reference, or if any lads are used to making them and can see a more efficient or a better way to do it, I'm completely open. But the way it works then is, so when your bait hits the water, this flicks up and all your hook is detach. And that's it then, so yeah, look, what I'll do is I'll probably put this here. Sorry, it's my first kind of video and I wouldn't be used to doing these things, so I'll probably put that there. Get this taken down. And what I'll do is wrap it up on a winder. So yeah, that's the story anyway. This is kind of what I'm doing, is trying to further what I further my experience or education in angling, and then obviously look if what I've learned, if I can pass that on to someone else and they can learn from it, fantastic, you know, brilliant. Because I'd love to see, you know, lads that are really looking to learn but haven't got a, you know, place to start, or you know, anything they can really relate to. I'd like to share my knowledge anyway, you know. Right, so that's it on the rig winder. Really handy, keeps your rigs all nice and tidy. Just have a little box for them here. Pop them in the box, colour coded. So I have a couple of rigs done there. Actually, we were down in Kerry with our club only last week, and we fishing for bullhuss a lot. So they're big chunky ones, 60 pound leader. So and 60 pound snood, because they were big fish and they were wrecking traces. So what I'm going to start off with, and as I said again, this is my first video, so you know it's not going to be perfect. 60 pound leader, 60 pound shock is what I'm using here for my rig bodies. And I know there's a lot of lads that do them that have exact measurements, and I know it's probably important. I'm no good with measurements, and I'm no good with that. So what I do is just by eye, and this is probably where I can definitely improve on my rigs, is getting those measurements exact. So look, if it's something, or anybody has any ideas. Right, so what I'll do is stretch the arms out as wide as I can, and then maybe a little bit more just for a bit of slack. Give it a chop. Right, so a nice long rig body. Always better to overdo it than underdo it. A little imp then for your bottom. Always start from the bottom of your trace and build onto it. So your little imp hook should always be pointing down, because if you put that on wrong, you're starting wrong. Okay. And I'll get a little bit closer so you can see the knots. So I just pop that through there. Twist, 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 and you can probably see when I'm doing my knots, I use the simplest of knots. Twist that around 5 or 6 times, back through the hoop, tied it up, give it a bit of lube, and pull, and that's my knot then. And cut the tag end off. Okay, so we cut the tag end off, nice and tight. Right, that's our first, sorry it's out of focus, that's our first little knot, nice and tidy. Then, because the crimps I'm using, the holes are so tight in them, so you'll see the top of the line there, it can be tricky to get a small little crimp on. So what I'll do is cut this at an angle, so the top of the line you probably won't see it. So the top of the line is kind of sharp and in a point, which will then help us to get our crimps on. So now we'll start loading it up. So we start with a crimp, one crimp, small orange beads. The objective here is to keep everything, all your components kind of small and tidy, which will, make the casting a bit easier and more aerodynamic, and that's the whole point of these rigs now, is to get out further, with your baits. So that was the crimp, the beads, cascade swivels, essential. And when I was, first making my first couple of clip down traces, it was taking me easily 40 minutes to do one trace. I just hadn't got the flow, and I did make the mistake once or twice putting these swivels on incorrectly, and only realising then when I was putting my hook lengths on, which is soul destroying. Okay, so you'll see the way they go on is you've kind of a big old loop, and the hook is facing down. That's how that wants to go on there. Down. that's that. First cascade swivel on. Bead. And crimp. The crimps just came out of the bottom of my box there, so they're all full of sand, so that's why I'm blowing them. Okay. Then another crimp for our next bit. Another bead. And another cascade swivel. And again, always shoot a fat loop at the top and make sure the hook is pointing down. Okay. Another bead. And another crimp. Now, so that's our first bottom two sorted. So this is what it should look like. And we can tighten them up. We're going to tighten them up after this. So, imp, crimp, bead, cascade swivel, bead, crimp, crimp, bead, cascade swivel, bead, crimp. Right. So our top, for our top hook then, a little bit different. So we're going to go crimp. You can probably hear the traffic in the background. I'm kind of on a main road here. This is where the shed is, so apologies. Okay, so crimp, bead, okay, and then obviously because we don't need to clip anything else on, our top one will be just a regular barrel swivel. What I'm using, the ones I'm using are size 8s, Geminis, so small little ones. But they should be more than strong enough for whatever fish we're looking for. This rig here, it's more of a, they call it a scratching rig, so what it is you're trying to scratch around for fish. So that's kind of what you're using the small hooks for. And in competitions it's all about trying to get whatever fish you can on the board, and as many of them, you know what I mean, and get your points up. So, you know, if the whiting are on, that's what you're going to go for, is the whiting. Or if the dogs are there, you're going to go try and get as many dogs as you can, and, you know, scratching around. So on this rig here, I've got flounder, and I've only been using it a couple of months. I haven't been using it a long time. I've got flounder, dogs, smooth hounds. I've caught ray, small ray, whiting, pouting, dabs, pollock. I probably said pollock already. It's a very versatile rig, so you'll get, you know, and that's kind of why I like to use different hooks. So usually what I would do is a bigger hook on the bottom, so size 1, size 8 in the middle, and then size 6 small little hook on the top. And that's just expanding your options. But like, I mean, don't worry about small hooks, because when I first seen this rig and the size of the hooks people were using, I was thinking, Jesus, you know, what happens if a big fish comes along? But they'll hold. Well, just about. Now I've seen it must have been a 5 or 6 pound smooth hound caught on a size 6 hook, and it almost straightened the hook out now. But it lasted, you know. So the guy, the angler, he was very capable, and, you know, he fought the fish well. So don't worry, if the big fish come along, you should be able to catch them, you know. So that's it then. The little barrel swivel on top, and what I do then is another bead and then another crimp. Now you may not need the crimp on the very top, but I'll put it on anyway. Oh, apologies, now look, I've already done it wrong. So yeah, so this is the problem with doing live videos. So what I'll do is I'm going to take off. See, this is where I can learn too, you know, and I'm still learning. So I'm going to take off the bead, I'm going to leave the crimp on, the top crimp. I'm going to take off the bead, the swivel, and the other bead. Apologies. And what we do need on is an SRT spring, which is a little spring, and that'll go over the top crimp like that, and then we pop bead, swivel, bead, crimp. Okay, so then for the top of the rig, again I could be doing it wrong now, but nice big swivel I use. Just like big swivels for taking the strain when you're casting. So wrap that around 5 or 6 times. Sure, loop. A little bit tight, lube it up. Give it a pull. Okay. So that's that. Put the tag end off. Right. So we have our components all sitting there like that. Right, so it's loaded up now, it's just ready to be the snoods to be added and for everything to be tightened up then. Alright, so I suppose what I'll do here, I'll try and put the camera this way because this is where I'll be hooking her onto. Apologies if it's not clear. There we go. Right, so I'm going to hook it onto a hook here. Okay, I'm just going to pop a weight on the bottom. What that'll do is keep everything tight for me. So just like that. Hang the rig. Just like that. You can see the state of my shed. Apologies about this. Let's try and get a better point of view here. Okay. So then the next thing is get your amnesia. So your bottom hook should always be smaller. You know, your snood should be smaller. Middle hook, medium, and then top one longer. And that was told, that's what I was told, and the reason behind it then is when you're casting, if it doesn't clip, it won't all get tangled up in each other. So that's what we'll do. So what I like to do is just kind of gauge roughly what it's going to be. So I'll sort of measure it up, and I like to overestimate this because you can always cut slack off. You can't put line back on. Okay, so I'm gonna go that length there. Put the size. So bottom hook, as I say, I like to use the size 1 B940 camera hands. You can always go bigger. I've used size 2s. And then with the hook, pull it through slightly, couple of twists, back through, tighten it a little bit, pull it, nice and tidy, cut the tag off, and there we go, nice and clean. So then what I'll do is small little loomy beads, one of those on, and I like to put a little rubber bait stop on as well. Just stops the, you know, if you're using lugworm or ragworm or anything like that, just stops your bait running up your line and ending up, you know, halfway up your snood, and the fish then will, you know, they won't be biting the hook. So that's that. Again, it's all very out of focus and very rudimental, but that's how that will look. Okay, so what I start doing now is I'll tie this one on, and before I tighten it or tension it, I'll just get an idea of what the size is going to be. So I'll hook that in there if it goes. So we'll do that a tiny bit. Okay, that'll do. So then what I'm going to do is tie on the snood. This is where I think I'm going wrong, and I'm making, overcomplicating it. So this is, as I say, I'm half doing this video to, help lads, and if lads don't have an idea of how to make them, that's kind of half the reason I'm doing it, and the other half is to help yourself as well and get some, advice on where I'm going wrong, if I'm going wrong, and try and make things, a little bit more jeez, what's the word again? Efficient. So then what I'll do is, right, so I have my snood on, tied there obviously, and tied there up at the cascade swivel. You can see then. So I'll tighten it up slightly, and then I'll hold it. And then what I'll do is get them long nose pliers, pull it on that, make sure it's tight. Then I'll crimp. Right, a little squeeze, not too tight. And you will see that there is nice and tensioned. And then maybe another little squeeze just in the bottom. Okay. So then what I'll do is just bring the top crimp a little bit up higher, just so there's a little bit of room to play. And I'll give that a squeeze. Okay, so that's your first snood done on that. Right. So the next one then is obviously the same process. I try and make the snood then slightly longer. So that's what I'll do. And then I'll use a different size hook, then I'll use a size 8. So again, what I'll do is just try and gauge, so I'm not cutting too much line off or too little. I'd say that's about right. Okay. So apologies, I said I was using size 8s. I'm going to use size 4s, just for the middle. Bit sharp. So again, in through there. Twist, 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 5 or 6 times. Back to the loop. Tighten it up. That's it. Small bead, loomy. And the little rubber bait stop. Again, what I'm going to do, and I know the camera's probably a bit far away to see it clearly, pop this through here, just pull the slack on it slightly, bring it up, and clip this in here. That gives me a better idea where I want to be with it. So because I have a bit of slack now, I can bring it up slightly and it's still clipped in, and we'll get it to where it needs to be. That looks good to me. Then unclip it, bring it back down. That's about where we want it, so I'll start tying. I know it's looking like it's taking me ages, which it is, and I'd like to blame the video, but it's not the video. This is me just really still getting to grips doing these rigs. As I say, I'm only doing them a couple of months, and I've tied up a good few, but I haven't streamlined the process. So that's kind of what I'm hoping now, is just to get a bit more advice off some guys that are more seasoned. Okay, so that's my snoot tied on. Then what I'll do is, let's see if I can raise this up a bit. Oh, we'll put this somewhere else. There we go. This will probably go down as one of the worst videos out there. But as I say, I've that bottom clipped, middle one clipped, and I'm just about to tighten it up. So I just pull it up to where it's tightened nicely on the other cascade swivel, so the line is tight, because you want that nice and tensioned when you're casting. And then lift it a little bit higher, and then crimps like right, and then squeeze that one more time, give it a good squeeze. Okay, and then with the one above the bead, I'll just, let's see if you can see it, just leave a little bit of a gap so there's movement. Let's say if you're playing a fish, you want it to be able to move, and give that a squeeze too. Okay. Right, so that's our first two done. As you can see, they're clipped on, tensioned nicely. Now with the top one, so what we're going to do, we're going to have our swivel tip up about here. We're going to want to hook down about here, so we're going to need about that much line. So again, I'll overestimate it, and I'll just put a little bit extra off. And what I'm going to use on the top one then is a size 6 Camazan. So small. But if there's small fish there and plenty of them, they're the ones you're going to be catching. And it just opens you. You could be fishing on a beach with big hooks and thinking, oh, there's no fish out there, and there could be little gurnards there, or there could be whiting, or there could be flounder, or there could be anything that's, your hook is just too big for them. So you could be missing opportunities. And believe me, you're sitting on a beach for a couple of hours and you're not catching fish. The small fish will do you. Save the blank. We've all been there. So that off. Small bead. Slide that down. Now I've no more rubber stops, so I'll leave it at the loony bead. That'll do. Then what I like to do is put that in there, bring it up, and then tension it. Okay, and then you've got your slack then to play with because you've overestimated it, which is always good. So I'll bring that to about there. Do me that. Same knot as I always do, around 5 or 6 times, back through the loop. Very rarely fails me this knot. A simple one you can do. Build it up, and it's a tidy one. I'm not for complicated things, even though this rig, for me, I would have classed as complicated. And I know I'm overcomplicating it probably, but keep things as simple as it can be. So then what you do is hook your hook onto the top. What I like to do here, and you probably can't see it because you're too far away. Can I zoom? No, I can't zoom. So that's hooked on to the cascade swivel. I like to put a little bit of tension in the spring, just a little bit, and then crimp. Yeah, one squeeze and then a little squeeze at the bottom, and then do the top one. There you go. And that's it. Way overcomplicated it. Probably put lads off fishing by making the video. As I say, I want to learn. I want to learn myself, so I said I'd put this one out there. And there's plenty of lads that have helped me learn. And I'm doing their heads in all the time, so they're probably sick of me ass. And I said I'd make a video, put it out there. So I'll show you the final product anyway. So probably better if it. Okay. So the way the imp all clipped in. All clipped in. Two cascade swivels. That's how our top looks. So the spring slightly tensioned, but I think it's keeping tension on the whole rig. And then this is it. So when your line hits the water, all your hooks detach. And lads that have been around for years and use this rig, very simple, and they're probably saying, geez, you know, this is standard stuff. For me, last year, didn't know, hadn't got a clue. Saw imps, saw, you know, shields, but didn't, you know, saw lads using them, didn't really know how they worked, didn't really want to know how they worked. Knew what I knew, and that's all I wanted to know. But yeah, for me now, this is, you know, this is the staple rig now for when I'm going out on the beach, and especially in competitions. So that's it. Sorry for overcomplicating it, and you know, probably butchered the rig as well, but it works, and it works well for me. But I'd like to know how other lads do it, and if there's anything that can be improved on, and if it helped somebody out, and I know they probably couldn't see exactly what I was doing, but if it helps lads out as well, even better, you know. So that's the story. And yeah, thanks very much. If you've watched the whole video, fair play to you. I'd say it was painful, but yeah, let me know. And anyway, thanks lads.